Okay, hello there, everybody, and welcome to our podcast on fitness tech startups. We are really happy to run our last podcast this year on tech and digital in our sector, in accordance with the second headline of our sectoral manifesto, EuropeActive sectoral manifesto for Horizon 2025, which is digitalization and tech in our industry, how we can accelerate that development for the recovery and for the future of our sector. And to address this issue, we have two industry experts with us today, and I'm extremely excited to introduce Natalia from the FitTech company and the FitTech Summit, and Dave from Thrvly. If you could please just introduce yourself, starting with Natalia, say a bit about your background and your respective companies and projects in our sector.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the founder of FitTech Summit, and FitTech Summit is Europe's leading platform devoted to the future of fitness technology and the innovation in the healthy lifestyle space. We founded that as a conference 2 years ago, to be more precise, 3 years ago. And with Corona, we had to innovate as well. So we are now evolving into a content and networking platform that will help the industry and the founders, the startup industry as well, in the space of fitness technology and space of well-being to move forward faster.
Thanks, Natalia. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you, Andreas, for having me on. So I'm the CEO and founder of Thrvly, and I come from a decade-long technology background and an Ironman racing background. Thrvly was founded with my Ironman coach 2 years ago as a project to help coaches reach more athletes. And through a set of discoveries, we realized that coaches around the world, through every discipline of health, fitness, nutrition, need a tool set for better access and growth. So we decided to expand what we currently did into the platform that we have now.
Amazing. Thanks so much. So as I said, one of our four pillars being health, digital, community, and standards of the EuropeActive manifesto for our sector's improvement in the coming year as we move out of the shadow of COVID-19 and into a bright future is digital and tech. We have defined that digital and tech is absolutely critical for our sector in terms of our recovery and making the best of ourselves in the coming years. That has been a known fact and reality for a long time, but of course 2020, and that's one of the positive outcomes, has shown all of us that digital infrastructure is absolutely needed in terms of reaching our fullest potential as a sector. And again, therefore, we are so happy to have Dave and Natalia with us to address how we can move in that direction as a sector and build that critical infrastructure and connect better through digital and tech means with our clients. So
I think that it's not only needed to thrive, but also to survive, which is becoming more and more obvious these days.
Absolutely. So a first question to you guys: what could make tech and digital startups thrive more in our sector? How could we improve the conditions for the digital and tech community in our sector, creating better solutions for our sector's companies and businesses?
Yeah, I feel like that's a really straightforward question, and it's around tool sets and how do you create value for people that need to expand and grow what they're doing, mostly because what is the resource that people use? Google. How do I get online? How do I perform action XYZ so that I survive as a business, or I grow as an instructor, or I do something? And there's no centralized repository of knowledge. And this is where EuropeActive can specifically play a role into help providing that guiding. Here's how we have vetted these companies, these solutions that are going to help you achieve your goals, whether you're an individual or a business.
It's interesting because I think this is a super tricky question. Andreas, if you're asking how can we improve the conditions for startups, and by we you mean the traditional fitness industry, the answer would be just do nothing. And that would help startups to thrive because they will go into the niche that should be occupied by traditional fitness industry and gyms. This is what we're actually seeing in the States. Like if we look at the traditional fitness industry there, it's quite boring. So not many things are happening there. And the models haven't been evolving for years, right? That gave the companies like Peloton, Tonal, Hydro, Miro, and many others the opportunity to thrive and to move to the space because, the consumer needs are still there. And if no one is going to, to get into the space, the startups will, which is a good thing for startups. But if you're speaking of improving the overall customer experience and to growing the market together, the traditional industry on the one hand and the startups on the other hand, then lots of things need to be done. And I believe that the fitness industry will play the least important role in that.
Right, tough, honest reality that you present there. What do you think of EuropeActive's idea of launching a digital council, which we're doing next year for the European Health and Fitness Forum? We would like to have a council like we have a President's Council for operator CEOs and for suppliers. We'd like to have a digital council for tech and digital companies from our sector, where we can have an ongoing advisory consultative discussion with the digitals and techs of our sector around this issue and how we build this critical infrastructure for our sector. What do you think about that idea, to have that sort of more formalized community?
Ideas are great, and the more opportunities there are for the startup community and for the traditional fitness community to come together, the better it is, because lots of startups will not make it there. Not everyone will become Peloton. I would say like maybe 1% would become half of a Peloton, if at all, right? So if the traditional fitness industry will provide startups with the opportunity to reach their customers who are, at the moment, all the lockdown, sitting on their couches and asking themselves why they are paying this fitness membership, then that could be a very nice cooperation and a very nice hybrid opportunity for both sides.
Thanks so much, Natalia. Of course, during the shutdown during 2020, digital and tech has been absolutely critical for more traditional fitness business models in our sector to reach out to their clients. Can you point to some concrete, great examples in terms of best practice where startups, tech and digital startups have helped more traditional companies in our sector reach out to their clients and operate through the pandemic?
One of the examples would be Aura, which is an audio workout startup in the UK. And they've been working with the traditional industry where they kind of developed a joint business model, a joint pricing for the traditional customers, where customers can go into the gym and train there. And alternatively, they can also use the audio workouts when they're training at home, right? This is one of the examples. Another example would be the RSG Group, which is, as we know here in Europe, is a very big fitness operator with gyms like McFit. And for the American market, they've just acquired Gold's Gym and bring it to Berlin to start with. So they're also investing in some startups that could help them expand the options for their customers, like wearable startup, right? And these are interesting things that we have to look at because I believe that the future of fitness would be in networks and platforms. And the gyms that move fast enough and the operators that move fast enough into this space and create meaningful cooperations or even buy some startups, not everybody has the money to go on. They're also burning cash. Those would be the ones who will succeed in the digital world.
Yeah, so this was actually a part of the conversation we had before the podcast started, that it is the platforms, it's those network effects that allow those individual operators to grow successfully. Because you saw at the start of the pandemic, everybody decided to go online. I'm going to do Facebook Live videos, I'm going to jump on YouTube, I'm going to start my own Squarespace site, or I'm going to try to build my own app. And what happened? Everybody went online, there was content everywhere, and nobody had a good value proposition. So they ended up trying to sell to their members, whether it was a small studio or an individual instructor. And because their value proposition was terrible, their content could be amazing, but they're only going to capture their really hardcore user base, and their opportunity for growth is not there. And that was really why we saw an accelerated growth at our company, because being able to have that platform that allows them to utilize their own content as a value to their member, but also to be part of a network that has many other instructors and individual businesses on there as well, that's accessible by the member of the platform, gives them a value proposition that's competitive in this landscape.
So a lot of people are talking about hybrid models that we'll see a lot of sort of combining a brick and mortar with digital infrastructure. Of course, I think it's a no-brainer that is absolutely critical going forward. But could you point to some great examples in that regard? any examples that come to mind in terms of some great developments in this regard during 2020?
Yeah, so Equinox is probably the best example of somebody that had zero digital presence and a wonderful in-person presence. And the pandemic hit, and they ended up buying a company, and they did some development on it called Veris. And now they offer a majority of their Equinox classes through this platform. And they're able to shut down any Equinox that is required by like a state government, specifically over here in the US, and still be able to supply their members with a high quality digital experience. And that will be important for brick and mortar operators. And this just ties back into what we're doing specifically is people have expertise and they're really good at what that expertise is. And they're typically not good at all about something that lies outside. Brick and mortar businesses are really good at delivering an in-person class experience that is high quality. They are not good doing it digitally. So they need a tool, a resource that's going to allow them to, as best they can, take that in-person experience and allow them to deliver that online. And they can take care of what they're good at. Okay, we're going to have a brick and mortar. The pandemic's going to come to an end. We're going to have some vaccines. That's great. Every business is going to be opened up. But we all realize we need to move in a digital front. Are we going to do this independently as individual businesses, or are we going to utilize a tool, a platform with network effects that's going to allow us to grow online? And I think the obvious answer is they're going to need to do that. And it makes more sense to utilize a company with specific expertise to help them out in that manner.
Dave, could you just expand a bit upon Thrvly's business model and what you are trying to provide for the industry, because it's primarily centered around Group X, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So again, going in the vein of what our expertise is and what our instructors and studios' expertise are, they're great at making content, hosting classes. They are not good on the technology side. We're experts on the technology side. So we live inside, how do you build a platform that performs very well worldwide? How do you stream content to any user? How do you make these high quality classes really have high user value when they're done in somebody's living room or they've got their phone at the gym? How do you take that class that they were really looking forward to taking an hour long with 30 people that they can't do right now and get a relatively good experience when they're doing it at home? So that is how Thrvly and the platform allows the instructor or the studio, the business, to record their class, something that they're good at, but then not have to worry about how do I upload this, how do I stream it, how do I integrate payments and a security layer inside of this, and then how do I end up monetizing this content? How do I market it and create a good value for the users?
So at EuropeActive's, or in EuropeActive's rather, in our manifesto, the first headline and our primary overall priority is moving our sector towards becoming a recognized public health solution in the coming years. And the WHO defines human health as physical, social, and mental health and well-being. So the social part, of course, is an area where we are all challenged during the lockdowns of the pandemic. Do you see any kind of conflict between digitalization, tech, and the social part, the social communities that have traditionally thrived in the brick and mortar clubs? You know, how do we ensure that in the future? Because that's of course very important for retention and the sort of strong relations between our clients and members as a sector and our businesses. So how do we ensure that with growing sort of digital and tech offerings? How can we combine that and ensure that community?
Yeah, I think social media, and especially communications through social media, rightly so, has gotten a bad rap. You just have to look no further than Facebook and Twitter and see that, oh, social communication, that just puts people in an angry mood, and there's really no positive, especially when it comes to mental well-being and mental health, than being on social media. But I think that digital tech and digital health allows a better experience. And we coach our instructors and the businesses that are on our platform. One of their ways that they're successful is creating stickiness on their personal site inside the platform. And one of the ways is consistent communication with members. What do you want to see? Whether it's a simple poll or asking what kind of classes or did you enjoy this? And then having the students of this class being able to interact like, hey, what did you like? It can be very simple, but you can also include the type of communication that you would get in an in-person class. You might not be able to give somebody a high five at the end, but you can at least see each other. You can see the people that are taking classes. And Peloton is obviously a wonderful example of this. They nail technology on how do you feel like you're in a group cycling class when you're not in a group cycling class. You see a leaderboard, you can see stats, you can see other people, and there's kudos that are given. So that's something that can be integrated into the digital side that helps people feel a sense of community.
Right.
Definitely. I think what we're seeing with the behavior in the digital space with tracking, for example, which is now also getting to the physical space where you can really track what the person is doing in the city, right? With smart cities concepts and so on and so forth. We'll also see same patterns in the physical and digital space for fitness. And I believe that it will be about, on the one hand, holistic user journey, so that things that you're doing kind of make sense on both sides, right? On the other hand, also about understanding what kind of infrastructure the gyms will need in the future, because it will not be enough just to kind of manage your members with pen and paper, what some gyms are still doing, or I guess even lots of gyms are still doing. But this is kind of the basics. We also need to go one step forward and to think what kind of useful cooperations we can create together with startups, and also what kind of mindset do we need in the business, right? So if we stick to the example of Peloton, there's also in the States, there's also like Peloton tourism, where people just go to the hotels where there's a Peloton bike standing. And I think this is kind of very interesting in terms of, or indicative in terms of how great the product experience is. So they were able to create a product experience which people are craving. And it doesn't depend on whether this is a physical or a digital experience. This is just something people want to use. And I guess we need to ask ourselves way more questions in this direction. How can we create fitness products that people just want to use?
Thanks so much. Again, coming back to the question about becoming a public health solution, we look at digital as a way to connect with non-traditional fitness users, seniors and kids, and a lot of different types of consumers and members that we don't traditionally connect with as a sector, at least not to the extent that we would like to. And that's, of course, existentially important for our sector in order to grow our market in the coming years. And this is really where we believe the great, as EuropeActive, that the great growth opportunities are for our sector. Can you point to some examples in terms of using digital and tech to connect with non-traditional fitness users? For example, seniors or kids, whatever you like.
Yeah, we have conversations about this all the time. And specifically when it revolves around startups, you are kind of targeted towards what is the fastest growing market right now, but then also keeping in mind about what do we want to do 1, 2, and 3 years down the road. And that is a specific goal of our company, is how do you provide a wellness solution for an aging population? Because they are not going to go to the gym at the numbers that 20 to 40-year-olds do, but they will engage with something that they like, especially when they're at home, especially now in the climate when they're at home. So being able to kind of curate a selection of classes or things that are created specifically for them is easy to do, and it's quick to do inside digital. It's more difficult to do if you're trying to organize a group of actual instructors to go to these people. That's probably an unrealistic goal. So the Uber of health and wellness for an aging population may not be the successful business model, but the Airbnb of digital health and wellness for an aging population is. So we can create a platform that is specifically designed for exercises, mental health, meditation, all designed and curated for them.
Amazing. Thanks, Dave. Natalia, a question relating to the new year ahead of us, and which we believe at EuropeActive will be sort of the door to the great transformation of the sector in the coming years. What do you believe will be the big trends, tech and digital-wise, in 2021? In a few words, how would you describe the big tech and digital trends in the coming year?
Yeah, so I think we'll see the further verticalization of fitness and technology. What I mean by that is, for example, we'll say Pelotons for X something, right? There's Peloton for rowing with hydro. There's Peloton for home workouts, with tonal and so on and so forth. So I believe that we'll see more verticalization in terms of different kinds of sports, like boxing, for example, or other sports that haven't been kind of digitized yet, and that can be used in the home fitness context. This is one thing. Another thing is, I guess, that we'll see way more startups kind of starting to function as a backbone for the industry. For example, tech as a service, like music as a service, what we see with Feed FM in the States, or motion tracking as a service, what we see in Switzerland with a startup called Thrvly.ai. And that means that you will be able to create new kinds of fitness products with not that much technology that you have to develop yourself, which will kind of accelerate the process. This is one thing. Another thing is that we'll also see more segmentation in terms of target audiences, what you've talked about as well so far, like prevention for elderly people, because we have a huge loneliness problem with them, and fitness might be used as socialization instrument for them, right? Kids fitness, huge problem with kids obesity in Europe and in the States, but also like female fitness, because the female health data hasn't been utilized to its full potential so far, and females are kind of different than males. And I think industry is starting to recognize these things. But also we'll see that AI is moving way more into the fitness space. VR as well. I mean, gamification and fitness is kind of, it's kind of logical that they have to belong together. But the question would be like, in which ways? Will we see separate AI concepts, for example? Will we see kind of AI concepts, VR concepts, or augmented reality concepts integrated into traditional gyms? We don't know yet, but we know that the space is getting more and more crowded, and it will not get less crowded in the next years.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, we have to wrap up a bit. Thanks so much for participating. We hope to see you as part of the EuropeActive's Digital Council in 2021, which, as I said, will launch for the European Health and Fitness Forum in the first half year of 2021 next year. We are extremely happy that you took part in this podcast and helped us gain essential insight into digitalization and fitness tech. Thanks so much for that. And as this will be the last podcast of 2020, I would like to thank all of the experts who have participated in these podcasts and helped educate and enlighten our sector in many different regards. The best thing, in my opinion, about 2020, this difficult and demanding year, has been the unity and collaboration of our sector and experts like yourself, Natalia and Dave, stepping forward to improve and enlighten our sector, and making sure that we will get out of this in much better shape than we went into the crisis, and that we accelerate essential developments for the improvement of our sector, like digitalization and tech. So thanks so much.
I believe that will be literally about survival of the fittest.
It's definitely an existential parameter. So thank you guys so much. Merry Christmas and have a very happy 2021. We'll definitely continue the conversation next year.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much.
Bye.